let's go ahead and get started with our webinar. First of all, this is what we're going to go over. I'm going to give you some tips to start out with, and then I'm going to talk about specific places in your email where you may have made a mistake and what you can do about that to fix the error that's happened. At the end, we'll have some information on how to avoid this in the future. You probably know how to avoid it, but I'm going to go over it anyway. And then, as I said, there will be time for Q&A at the end. So first of all, once you hit send and you realize something has gone wrong, don't panic. Everybody makes a mistake. It happens to everyone. I have examples in this webinar of pretty big companies that have made mistakes in their emails. So it'll happen to everyone. Don't panic. There are things you can do to fix it, and there are things that you can do to help your customers understand what went wrong. So first of all, you want to assess what's happened, what's wrong with your email. As soon as you realize that there's a problem, look at how many people were impacted by this mistake that was in your email. Hopefully, you're not mailing to your entire database when this happens. We usually recommend that you do segments of your list for better engagement, so hopefully it's not everyone on your list. But even if it is, take a look at the size of your list and decide how many people have been affected by the error in the email. And take a look at your open rate and your click-through rate to see how many people have already seen this and what would happen if you resent the email before they see it. Then look at how big the mistake is. Is it just a typo? Did you have a spelling error? Or is there a mistake in the pricing? Or do you have the wrong date? Is it going to cause people to go to the wrong place for an event? Look at how big the mistake is to decide if you need to resend an email. And that's what this whole assessment portion of this is all about. What is going to be impacted? How many people? How is it going to hit your business? And should you send another email? Because sending another email could cause unsubscribes, or it could cause people to be annoyed and not want to look at your email. So you have to decide what is going to be better, that you live with the typo, or that you send out another email and potentially annoy the people on your mailing list. Then look at how this is going to impact your business or organization. Are you going to be embarrassed because you just have a spelling mistake in your email or in your blog post or whatever it is that you're looking at? I mean, we're specifically talking about email here, but in general. Or is this going to cause an issue for your business? Are people going to complain? Will people not come to your store or to use the service that you offer because you had a really big mistake that caused a problem to them? So take a look at these things. How many people have been impacted? How big is the mistake? And how is it going to impact your business to decide if you should resend an email? If you decide, and we're going to go through some examples here in a few minutes, if you decide that the right thing to do is to send out another email, if you can do it quickly after the first email has gone out, you might be able to catch people before they see the first one. And it will help alleviate some of the damage that can happen when you send too many emails in one day. Because then people will be like, oh, okay, I don't even need to look at that first one. Your subject line and pre-header should probably say something about the mistake that you made. That way they know that you're not resending the same email. If you use the same subject line that you did in the first email, people will just think they got the email twice. And they may not open the second one that has the corrected information in it. So you need to be clear about why that second email is being sent out. Apologize for what's happened, especially if it's like an error in pricing or when an event is, and let them know that you're really sorry that it happened and give them the correct information. If there was an error with content, like you have the wrong product or service in your email, and it's something that you're not going to be able to offer, make sure that you have some kind of backup or you have a backup plan, just so that people don't get really angry about getting this email with this promised thing and then they can't get it. Stay on brand and keep your tone as you would normally. But a lot of times, especially in this situation, humor can go a really long way for your business. So, try adding some fun stuff in there. And then also maybe, depending on how it went, and also if you shared your email on social media, consider acknowledging the mistake that you made on social media as well. And that can help with any questions that could be coming in to your business because of the error in the email. A lot of people follow businesses on social, and it's a good way to let people know all kinds of things that are going on. And if you have a customer support team, that can help them as well, that people don't have to call in and say, what is this? I don't get it. They can just find it out on their own. I think the thing that's really important is that you're truthful, upfront, and transparent about what happened. Again, you're human. You make mistakes. Everybody does. Let people know what happened and tell them what really should have been in the email. And then they can go on and decide what they want to do. So I have some examples of emails that had mistakes, and these are from different parts of your email. So we're going to start with the subject line, and we're going to talk about subject line, links, content. Some of the things that is going to happen with a mistake in this particular part of your email, and then what you can do to fix it, and then some examples. So if we're going to start off with the subject line, because the subject line is a really important, maybe the most important piece of your email, this is something you need to pay attention to. And it depends on what's happening in your subject line, but it could impact the open rate of your email. If people can't see your subject line, if you somehow left it blank, if you used a filler like test or to be determined, people might be confused, although they also might be wondering what it is and open it. So surprisingly, sometimes mistakes can actually help generate more opens, but your subject line is really important when it comes to opening your email. So you need to really take a look at what it says and what it should say if you want to help make sure people are opening your email. So if your subject line is blank, or if you've used a filler, you probably are going to need to resend your email, and that's because people may not see the email in the inbox. Their eye may not be drawn to your particular email because the subject line doesn't have anything in it that's really interesting. So you would probably see a drop in opens on this particular email. So to try to change that, sending another email with an apology or an oops or something in the subject line, again, so people know why they're getting two emails. And then you can have your real subject line, or you can put your real subject line in the pre-header text, so they'll see the apology in the subject line, and then the pre-header will have your real subject line in there. So for a subject line, oops, generally speaking, you're going to want to resend your email, again, because less people will probably see the email in the first place, so you want to have as many people look at your email. So here's an example of an email that was received by someone here on our marketing team. The subject line says, "This is an example," and then the content is just Latin. This is obviously a template that was accidentally sent out instead of the actual email. They sent out a follow-up, and the subject line said, "We're sorry about this morning's email." And then it said that it was an accident that it went out, and they apologized for any confusion about the weird email that people got. It wasn't part of their normal marketing plan, so they didn't have to resend another email with the real content because it wasn't supposed to have anything anyway. So having just the sorry email would work for people who were really confused. Again, this one had a strange subject line and then weird content and could cause some confusion for people, so it's a good idea to send out another email just to clear up that people weren't seeing the wrong information in the email, because they could potentially have thought this email was supposed to mean something to them. There was like some special deal or whatever, and they weren't seeing it correctly. So this just was basically saying that shouldn't have gone. There was nothing that you missed, and we're really sorry about it. Now, links, if you have something that's wrong with your links, and this happens sometimes, there are some things you can do with the links. So if you're using VR Classic, you can actually correct the links in the email after it's gone out, which is a super helpful thing. You can't change the text that is the link, you can just change the destination. So if there's a typo in the URL and you actually have that written out in your email, that can't be changed. But if somebody clicks on it, it will go to the right place. In this situation, if you are able to correct the link that is incorrect, then you might consider mailing only the people who had already clicked on your email, because the other people will see the real link or will be able to access the real link once it's been corrected. So you might only need to mail to a portion of the people who you had mailed to originally with an updated email. If you're not able to correct the link, or if there's like a big typo and the link is wrong and there's going to be a lot of confusion for your recipients, then resend the email. Again, you're going to need to have something in the subject line that says that there was a mistake in the email. Again, so your recipients know that you're not suddenly deciding mailing 2 emails a day is a good idea, because that could get really frustrating for people. And then just send the updated information or send the updated email if not a lot of people have seen it yet. So this one, fix it if you can. If you can't, then you're going to need to resend the email most likely. So this is an example in VR Classic where you can fix your links. You just need to go into the reporting. After you've sent your email, there'll be a list of all the links. Click on more links. Click details. And you'll see edit URL next to each link. And when you click on it, you'll get the box at the bottom here where you can just type in the new URL. Again, what the text says in the email cannot be changed, but the link destination can be changed, which can make all the difference. So here's an example of an email that I got. This is a daily knitting blog, and there's always lots of information in the email, but they had sent out an email and the link was wrong. It didn't go to the right place. And so what they decided to do was send out a short version of their email. It was very short. It's not the entire email that they had originally sent. It's just the part that had the wrong link. And it said, oops, in the subject line. And then it says in the email here, sorry that I had the wrong link. And she says, the pattern is too cute, so I decided to send out a correction. So just to make sure people were getting the right information, they sent this out, just the part that there was a mistake in, not the whole email again. Because again, people had seen it. Also, if a lot of time has gone by and you realize there's an error, this might be the way to fix it. Instead of resending the entire email, just resend the part that there was a mistake in. So sometimes there might be a mistake in the content of your email. And so there's a couple things that you can do. If there's a problem with the images in your email, they can be refreshed. Contact our support team and they can refresh it. If you have like the wrong picture of your product in your email, you're talking about a lamp and you have a picture of a chair or something, that might be confusing to people and that can be corrected for you. If there is a typo, a spelling error, generally you're just going to need to live with that. It certainly happens, but sending out an email because something's been misspelled is going to get a little bit annoying to your readers, because while they may notice it, and unfortunately they may comment on it, it isn't going to impact your business really, and it isn't going to impact their ability to know what's going on. So they're going to know what event it is, or if there's a sale, you're going to be able to click on links. All the content is going to be right. You just might have a typo in there. Sometimes it's hard to live with that, but that's really what you're going to have to do. You know, we do that here ourselves. Every now and then there'll be something that has a mistake in it. And, you know, for the life of us, we can't get our customers to give us much information about what they want. You know, we ask, oh, what do you want us to write blogs about? Or what about webinars? Or anything you want to update in our product? And we'll get a handful of responses. But if we have a typo in our email, we'll get hundreds of people replying to our emails. It's just the way people are. So if you have a typo in your email, you will, in fact, get people replying and telling you that you have a typo. But it isn't necessarily going to cause a problem with people being able to make a purchase or a donation to your organization. So it isn't worth annoying your database over a misspelling. You can certainly address it later if you want to in another email. For example, if you're sending out a newsletter, the next newsletter you can try having a little section in there where you say, sorry, we know there was a typo in our last one. We're going to try to make sure that doesn't happen again. If you feel that it needs to be addressed, but most likely you just need to let it go. But if it's something like you have an event coming up and you've given the wrong information, the wrong location, the wrong date, the wrong link to where the information is to sign up, then you probably need to send out a new email. Because otherwise people are going to be confused, or they're going to be angry because the information in the email is not correct, and they're going to end up at the wrong place, or the thing they think is on sale isn't on sale, and they're going to be mad. So send a correction email if that's going to be a problem. If it's just a typo, you don't need to do that. If it's a problem with an image, contact our support team and they can help you get that replaced. So for content, generally you want to wait. You don't need to send an email right away for most things, again, unless there's going to cause a specific problem because you have the wrong information. So here are some emails where people had originally sent out the wrong information and then how they handled it. So their subject line, as I said, using the word oops in the subject line, or we made a mistake, or here's a better thing, can help your readers know that there's something wrong with the initial email, especially if they haven't seen it yet. So in this particular one, they had the wrong offer, and this could be something where the webinar information was wrong, even though the rest of the information was right. So just to make sure your recipients are getting the correct information, you can send out a new email. And here's another one. They had sent out an email and they forgot to put the promo code in their email. So they had to send out a new email with the promo code. But what I really like is one that they said that they were human and they forgot to put the code in there. And then they changed their code to go with what had happened. So the code was oops 26. So that's kind of fun. This goes along with one of the things I said at the beginning, is that you want to stay on brand and keep the tone for what you would normally have for your emails. But humor can go a long way in a situation like this. So changing the code to go along with the mistake that they made is pretty funny. And it could be something that really gets people's attention as well and make them actually want to go use the code. That is one of the things, is that you could see an uptick in interaction with your emails or interaction with your business even when something like this happens, because people might be curious to see what had gone wrong in the first email and click through and come to your website. Here's another business. This is Virgin America, so even the big guys sometimes make mistakes. Their subject line says, sorry, let's try that again. And then down in the body of the email, it says our previous departure deals had the wrong travel dates, which is obviously something that you would need to have corrected, because anytime you have a wrong date, that can impact people using your service or getting the correct products or whatever it is that they need. So sending out a follow-up email saying, sorry, we had the wrong info, is pretty important in this situation. And they handled this really nicely. And they also tend to have a lot of humor about their marketing in general. So having some humor in this as well is pretty on brand for these guys. But again, it's also pretty good for anyone. And here's another one. They had put in the wrong promo code the first time, so they had to send it out again. You'll notice there's a trend here. Promo codes go wrong. So if you look at the subject line, it says, oops, and then it says take 15% off with a working promo code this time. And then their their pre-header text says, we're sorry your code didn't work earlier, and then they put the code in there. So they use the subject line and the pre-header text to make sure that their readers knew why they were sending out the second email and what they were getting. So after you have figured out what's gone wrong and figure out what your response is going to be, you need to keep an eye on some things. The reason is that by sending 2 emails in probably a short amount of time, again, you could have some issues with your list. You might annoy people. So you want to track the opens and the clicks on both of the emails you sent, both the original one that had the mistake, and then if you sent a follow-up one, you want to follow that as well. If you had a typo and it wasn't the sort of thing you needed to send an update about, I would still keep track of the opens and clicks to see if they are on par with what you normally get for your results for your emails. So, is it your around average for open? Were your clicks higher or lower because you had a typo or you had to change your link, something like that? Keep an eye on these. It's really important. You also want to watch your conversions. Again, that would be people making a purchase, a donation, clicking through to your website and taking some kind of action, downloading a white paper, whatever you were trying to get them to do with the email in the first place. Watch those conversions and keep an eye on the unsubscribe rate. You probably do in general, but on these two particular emails, you need to watch the unsubscribe rate, and most likely it would be the second one would have a slightly higher rate if it had an impact. Again, if you're able to send out your email fairly quickly, you might be able to get an email to someone before they've seen the first one, and then it won't be as big a deal for them to have gotten two emails because they can see both of them in the inbox and see that the second one said, oops, there was a mistake. Compare the stats, though, and keep an eye on both of the stats because you did just mail to your list twice, and make sure that it looks like everybody is still doing okay. Also, keep an eye on any replies that you get from your email. We'll send responses from your email campaign to whatever address you've set up for that. So just keep an eye on any follow-ups in case, besides somebody telling you that you can't spell, just in case people have feedback about getting two emails or about having a problem using a code or something like that. And then, of course, learn from the mistake. You do it one time and you deal with the fallout and you promise yourself you'll never do it again. And you probably won't, at least not the same thing, especially if you have like a bad link and then you have to deal with people contacting you and then getting back and sending out a new email or whatever. Those sort of things tend to stick with you if you have a lot of work after that happens. But share with other people if there's more people than you doing marketing, just so that everybody knows what's happened and what to look at in the statistics. Now, there are ways to avoid it, and as I said at the beginning, you probably know how to avoid these kinds of mistakes, and most of the time these mistakes are made because people are trying to get an email out quickly, and I understand everyone is short on time, but there are some things you can do to avoid having this happen. First of all, you need to proofread, and not just reread, you need to actually proofread your email. Specifically take it through looking for any issues with typos or spelling. We do a lot of writing here on our marketing team, and there's a proofreading team. One of the things I like to do is when I'm proofing like a blog post or even an email, I'll copy the text and I'll paste it into Word. Word is not a good thing to be using for your emails, but one of the things that I find it does really well is it helps with some grammar issues and spelling issues. And it'll give you suggestions on what you can do. Maybe this word is not what you want to use. You want to use this one, or maybe you need to rearrange the sentence because it's kind of weird. So it'll give you some information, and it also is putting it in a slightly different format probably than what you've been looking at it in. And that can make it easier to see where there are mistakes. So another thing you can do, and you can do this with Word or text edit, is to put it in a file and either do like different font or set different margins so that your sentences are breaking in a different place. And it looks a little bit different to your eyes, and it's like you're reading it new. And that way you get another chance to see if there's any errors in there. Before you send out your emails, test all the links. At VR, we have you send a test email. You need to make sure the links are going where they should be going, that nothing is broken. That's why we ask you to send a test email, is to make sure it looks good before it goes out. Make sure the images are loading. All your links and all the images should be working in your email. The only thing that isn't going to work is the hosted version because you don't have a live email, and that's on us, and the unsubscribe. Everything else in your email should be working, and if it doesn't look right or it isn't working correctly, you need to fix it before you send it out. Having somebody else help you proofread is also a good thing. You know, sometimes you've just spent so much time writing something that you don't see the errors because you've just grown accustomed to them. So having somebody else help you with that can be really useful. Even if you're the only person at your business doing a little bit of everything, ask your sister or your mom or somebody to help you with the proofing, your best friend, somebody who'll be a different set of eyes. Also, when you're using whatever tool you use to write things in, TextEdit, Word, if you're writing it in your email program, use the autocorrect and spell check that are built into all of those things. Even if you're creating your email in your VR account, turn on spell check. Turn it on in your browser so that when you're typing, it'll tell you something's gone awry. And that will help you with some of those easy to catch things like spelling problems. There's also some places you can go. Grammar Girl it's called 10 Tips to Banish Typos. You can just search for that, or go to grammar.quickanddirtytips.com, and then the URL is actually 10-tips-2, right? But I spelled it out so you can find it easier. But there are 10 tips in there to help you avoid running into these errors in the future. So hopefully that will keep you from having to resend out emails going forward. We have some resources for you. We always do. Our blog for this particular type of issue is probably a good place to go. We have a blog post called Yikes When Mistakes Happen in Your Email Marketing. It's a little bit about what we talked about today. There's also lots of blog posts about writing subject lines. And I know that can be a problem, and I know that's why I will often get emails that have TBD or test in the subject line. It happens a lot, actually. People are like, oh, I'm going to go back and write my subject line later. It's really important with the subject line, especially if there's more than one person working on your email, or you're trying to get an email out in a hurry, is that the subject line will often get forgotten. But it's a really important part of your email, so you do not want to have test in your subject line. That's going to really impact the effectiveness of your email. So take a look at some of our blog posts about writing subject lines. This is just one of them, but we have lots of information in there. Also, our help site, if you go to help.verticalresponse.com, there's some information in there on how to change your links, and how to get in touch with our support team if you need to update any images. This is the URL for Grammar Girl. She has all kinds of fun stuff in there about writing. It isn't just about avoiding typos. There's all kinds of things about grammar, how to use the right things when you need to. And then, as I said, I will be putting this up on SlideShare so you can take a look at the deck if you want to refresh some of the stuff that I talked about today. We also have the decks from previous webinars up there, so if you go to SlideShare and then just search for Vertical Response, I mean, that's our URL there, but you can just search for VR and it'll come up and you can see all the decks in there too if you want to take a look.